Hello and welcome to On the Other Hoof. Ahead of another big weekend of racing, as well as some English action, we have racing from Arlington, which features the Arlington Million, the Secretariat Stakes, the American St. Leger, and plenty other, with plenty of English and Irish contenders going over. But back on these shores, we have some good racing from Newmarket, including the Grey Race, run every year. I think about 15 horses in this year's renewal, including Crew Cuts, who won the race a couple of years ago. We also have the Great St. Wilfred from Ripon, their feature meeting of the year. And the main meeting of the day will come courtesy of Newbury, which have listed Group 3 and the Group 2 Hungerford Stakes. Well, we have got a few non-runners, so we'll be monitoring that and the ground throughout the show, because it is going to be fairly testing at all courses tomorrow. And of course, as always, my name is Luke Elder, and to go through the racing tomorrow with me is Callum Adele and the original Powerpuff Girl, Adam Webb.
What? Evening?
I thought it was definitely Blossom.
Yeah, you are such a blossom. I don't even know the name.
That's the only one I know.
Adam, what are the name of the other two?
Buttercup and...
Bubbles!
Bubbles!
Yeah, it was Bubbles. Yeah.
Screaming on the ground.
I love how Adam didn't want to know the answer, but he's gone and yeah, no, I do know.
No Courage the Cowardly Dog, but it was a good show.
Courage the Cowardly Dog. Apologies if you are over the age of 5. You may not have got those references to children's cartoons. How are we, gentlemen? We all good?
Yeah, going well.
I'm fine, yeah. How did go? What?
Pigs flew last week.
Yep.
Adam had a nap winner.
Finally. Good performance as well by the Cashel man. He's learning his trade, and he'll be a nice horse for the future next year as well. So yeah, I was impressed by him. How did you? Well, yeah, we didn't win. I forgot what you've gone for. So.
I went for.
Mine lost.
Yeah, it didn't win. I can say that now. I'll remember throughout the course of the show. But my nap did not win last week. We're trying to change that this week. We've got 8 races to get our teeth into here at On the Other Hoof. And if you guys want to get involved while watching the live show, if you're not watching the live show, you can comment in the YouTube comment section just below this video. But if you are watching live, then you can get in touch with us on Twitter. At On the Other Hoof is our tag. You can send in any fancies or questions you've got about the weekend's racing. And also, we will be covering some of the racing over at Arlington, which will be on Saturday evening with some good racing as well. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, plenty of English and Irish contenders are going over. But for now, we're going to get stuck straight into the English action with the 140 from Newmarket coming up first. The Betway Fillies Nursery Handicap, a decent enough race here, Adam. A few of these have some fairly big shoes to fill.
Yeah, Fillies Nursery, as I must say every single time, they're not my cup of tea personally. But this year's race, I remember last year I had no clue going into it. I feel as though I've got more of a clue this year. Holy Grail won a really strong nursery where she beat Tutu Nuguru, who's a horse that I particularly rate. And she did it well that day. And the step up to 7 furlongs, I don't think will be any issue to her. And with, I think, improvements to come at the trip as well, and the handicap mark as well, I think she is the clear one to beat. And she's also got decent form in the book behind Eastern Angel at Beverley as well, in the Hilary Needler. Of others in the race, I think Blossom Time is another who was behind Holy Grail that day. I think she'll improve for a step up in trip as well. And she's probably the likely one to chase her home. In Ken's memory, won an okay maiden at Nottingham. I mean, the form hasn't really been tested yet, but I'd like to see her go on from that and improve. I mean, she's with Mark Johnson, and he's a type that could pick up these races. 72 is a fair enough mark to start her off, and she should run well as well. But apart from that, there's not really many others. I will give Rayhara a mention for the expletive that Tom O'Ryan muttered when she beat Invermere last time out at Wetherby. That was one of my favourite moments on Racing UK in recent memories. So Holy Grail, I think, is the one to beat here.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on Holy Grail. I think Callum will be issuing similar sentiments in a bit. But Holy Grail won a really good nursery last time out, beating Tutu and Guru, who wasn't disgraced at Royal Ascot, but it's gone up £8 for that. Life might be a little bit tougher here. Has got, well, was comfortably, we'll start there again, beating Blossom Time last time out in the same nursery. Blossom Time does have a bit of turnaround at the weights, but still has a pretty stiff task on her hands. The one I was going to side with here would be Bahara, who comes with quite a tall reputation, was beaten on debut, a good winner last time out though, and albeit a weaker race, steps up markedly in class and into much tougher company today. But she seems to be one that's slowly but surely going in the right way, albeit only having 2 runs. May just be one to improve with a bit of time. But there have been a few rumours that she could be quite useful. Sean Levy taking the ride for Richard Hannon as well. I'd imagine Bahara wouldn't be too far away. The ground is going to be key at Newmarket as well tomorrow. We have to keep that in mind. We're not overly sure what's going to go on softer ground in this race so far, because a lot of them are untried on it. But you'd have to have Holy Grail down as the one to beat. For me, though, I'd side with Bahara in a race that I probably wouldn't be having a bet in, but it is a key race to be watching. It's a very interesting race as well. You're quite sweet on Holy Grail, I believe.
I like the horse. I thought I'm more of a fan of the race she won last time at Newmarket over 6 furlongs, because it looked a really strong nursery, and it always is a really strong race. This is probably a bit weaker, but stepping up to 7, and also she's got an £8 rise for that race. And I just got a feeling something might be a little bit better handicap. I don't know. I think it's a really trappy race. I covered it in Ken's Memories race at Nottingham, and she's very green, but did it well enough in the end. So the step up to 7, I think, will suit on a galloping track. If she knows more this time, I think she's been pretty lightly. That opening mark, I think, looks pretty lenient. So I'll probably go for her. I think I was expecting to get a mark closer to 75, 76 maybe. So yeah, I think that's a pretty decent mark.
Yeah, absolute flyweight as well. With Inns Ken Memory, a very tough race to get us started off with at Newmarket. I'm sure you'll agree. Moving on though to the 2 o'clock from Newbury. This is the Denford Stud Stakes, registered to you and me as the Washington Singer Stakes. Unfortunately, we only have 4 runners to go to war with this time. There may even be a few more non-runners. It is fairly soft down at Newbury. Cumric, Fleeting Visit, and also Easy are all non-runners here, leaving us with just a field of 4. Palawan, Twin Sails, A Desert of Life, and Epsom Icon are the 4 that will go to post here, Adam. And it has to be an interesting runner with Twin Sails, who was beaten last time, but looked to be a pretty decent sort before that.
Yeah, he's impressed on his first 2 starts, and he ran well at Goodwood behind Galileo God. Palawan was in the race as well, and he drifted towards the stands rail late on. The concern for both of them is soft ground. Dean Ivory was on Channel 4 and Racing UK before his run at Goodwood, Twin Sails, and he was saying, they asked him what type of ground he wanted, and he said the ground at Goodwood was perfect for him, and he wouldn't really want it much softer. So there is a concern for him tomorrow. Palawan is a horse as well that I do have my doubts about going on softer ground, which leaves me with Desert of Life, who has been running. She's won on soft ground to start off with, and the other 2 haven't proven themselves on the ground. She was second behind Fireglow at Sandown in a listed contest last time out, and she also wasn't entirely disgraced in the Chesham when the ground was probably too quick for her. And I just think she's a safer bet in the race than the 2 above her in the market. Epsom Icon, I don't think, will be good enough, and he also has the question mark of soft ground. I just think Desert of Life, she gets the weight as well as she's a filly compared to the Colts, and if she's going to have a day in the sun, it could be tomorrow.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that about Desert of Life, who probably ticks more boxes than the rest, it has to be said. I thought, not unlucky, that's the wrong word to use last time. She didn't get a clear run where her stablemate Fireglow in the Star Stakes at Sandown. She had to come up the rail where Fireglow went out wide, came across, and didn't really do Desert of Life too many favours, but in her own right, Desert of Life had to wait for her run. She probably wouldn't have won that day, she definitely wouldn't have won. She was too far back, but she stayed on quite takingly at the end. The trip's going to be no bother to her whatsoever. She's already won over it, and on soft ground at Doncaster on only her 2nd start. She's got a pretty smart form to her name, so I'd be inclined to side with Desert of Life. I was worried last time, albeit on a very idiosyncratic track, about Palawan hanging towards the near side rail. On faster ground, I wouldn't really have Palawan down as a prime contender to be going on softer ground, so it'll be interesting to see if he does take his chance tomorrow. Twin Sails as well. Adam, you said it correctly, that again the ground might just be against Twin Sails. So with that, I'd be prepared to side with Desert of Life in what looks to be a race where she's got plenty more going for her than the market principles.
I really like this Twin Sails, to be honest. Again, I covered his 2nd race. was really impressive. Probably wasn't the strongest of races he won, but the impression he left was really strong. You mentioned about the ground at Goodwood and Dean Ivory's comments, but it was actually on the softer side that day. So was he not actually meaning that it would actually go on soft ground? I don't know.
There's a difference though between good to soft at Goodwood and then
Yeah,
what it was at Newbury
no,
today.
true, but I think he's got far more potential than Desert of Life, personally.
It could just be the type of race. I don't think Desert of Life will end up being the best horse out of these three, we'll say, at the top of the market.
Yeah, but it could just steal a march on them.
Exactly. It could just be that tomorrow it works out best for her.
Yeah. Palawan really surprised me at Goodwood, actually, because I didn't really rate his Salisbury maiden win. I thought he was laboured at Chester in a valuable race, which wasn't very good, and then run an absolute screamer in the Vintage, where if he hadn't hung, he probably would have won, and that rhymed. So I'd like to see him confirm it, but I just think Twin Sails has by far the most potential out of any of these. I think he'll win 6-4 per outright.
Fair enough. Fairly straightforward for you then.
Yeah.
Very much. So back to Newmarket now for the 2:15, which is the race that we promised at the head of the show, the Betway Grey Horse Handicap. This race is for Greys only. 17 go to post for this season's renewal. Steve Prescott off the back of a win here at Newmarket over course and distance in what could be a better race. A rare visit away from Chester as well in the Dr. Marwan Kukash colours, Adam. Ran pretty well. It was a much improved performance, we'll say, at Newmarket last time.
Yeah, I remember saying when he won last week to you off air, and saying I think Steve Prescott's actually enjoying running at Newmarket, because every time he seems to have gone to Chester, he seems to have disappointed. I think what he wants is a galloping track. The concern is if the weather turns bad at Newmarket, I think he does want decent ground to be at his best. It was a career best effort last time out, and he was impressive. If the ground stays decent, I do think he's the one to beat, even carrying top weight. But there are others in the race that I do like as well. Crew Cut, I've had in mind for this. Well, you can always have him in mind for this every year, but I've had him in mind since his run at Goodwood properly, and he hasn't disgraced himself. He was 6th behind Aspan Sam at Epsom, 2nd behind Dawn's Early Light, who may run later on at Newmarket. There's a doubt about him running on account of the ground. And he's got his head in front at Newmarket last time out. And he's won this race before, and something for Luke, he's a grey number 5. So you combine it all together. The only problem is it is a grey horse handicap. So I don't think the
pressure's really on for this race. Every year, the pressure really does get turned on.
Quite interested as well in George Bowen stepping back in trip as well. I think he could run a big race as well. I think there's a bit more to come from his mark, and he has been running over 7 recently, but I think he's worth a go back at 6 on around Newmarket. So I'm going to put up Crew Cut just with the slight doubt about Steve Prescott and the ground, and I'll put George Bowen up at an each way price each way. I think he could go well.
As regarding George Bowen, Paddy Mathers gets a ride on George Bowen. He's been riding absolutely spectacularly recently. I think he's had one winner today at Catterick, I think I'm right in saying, but he's had a few winners over the past few days. He's riding really well in the saddle, full of confidence lately. I agree with you, Adam, about Steve Prescott. Again, the ground might just be on the wrong side for him, and I also agree with Crew Cut as well. It's a horse that I've liked for quite a while. He won this race 2 years ago now, 3 years ago.
2 years.
2 years. So, but he's come right back to form. 2 outings ago, he was unlucky to bump into a very well handicapped horse in Dawn's Early Light, who, as Adam mentioned, we may or may not see later, depending on how soft the ground does get. He would be favourite for one of the main races of the day at Newmarket. But last time out, put that all right. Was prominent the whole way and quickened really nicely in a race that hasn't really worked out all too well, albeit there have been a few winners, but way down the field who didn't really perform on that day. But saying that, Crew Cut did win it a lot easier than the winning margin of half a length would suggest. So with that, even on the softer ground, which I do think that he would handle, to be honest, despite his more recent form anyway coming on good to firm ground, I wouldn't have this softer ground down as a bit of a worry for Crew Cut. Adam Kirby is a really good jockey booking as well. So around the 8-1 mark, I can see Crew Cut being a good each way value off. The others, York Glory is one that's completely lost his way.
Jesus, that's in there. Yeah, totally lost his way.
It's an ex-Wokingham winner now running in the grey race at Newmarket.
If you put it all together, he could go well, but I don't trust him.
How many times has that been said over his past few runs?
He's been so out of form. He's looked awful lately.
At least he beat horses home last
Yeah,
time.
he did. To be fair, he went off like a scalded cat at Leicester.
He's getting better.
It's not
He's
him.
getting
He
better.
needs- Going off like a scalded cat's not him though. He needs holding up in a big field, and yeah, that Wokingham
Just
win
wait.
was just something else, and then he's just gone the wrong way. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Oh well.
But as always, the grey race is a competitive one at Newmarket. I'd be siding with Crew Cut. Steve Prescott would be a danger if going on the ground, but that seems to be an unknown at the moment. And Jack Garrity, a good booking to take £3 off the top weight. Steve Prescott for Richard Fahy and Dr. Marwan Kukash. Your fancy for the grey race?
I don't know, to be honest. It's again,
right there.
there's quite a few races today. When I'm looking at the market and thinking, well, they were the 3 or 4 I liked in the race, and they're all ahead of the market, and this is one of them. I think Steve Prescott fully deserves to be favourite. I think it'll go on any ground. It was a good 5th in that Tarantum Star race, the 3-year-old race on soft. Then won a weaker race against older horses last week. I think Jack Garrity taking off 3 will help as well. So can see that making a bold bid from the front. Crew Cut, similarly, he's been in good form, including at this track. Was a nice winner last time in a race where Little got involved, but was before that behind Dawn's Early Light at Ascot. So again, I think that's pretty strong form. He'll be thereabouts. Can't change it. Was a real eye catcher at Goodwood. Probably should have won in that Pastoral Player race if it got a clear run. It's just the drop to 6 is a bit of a worry for me. I think it stays 7 well, and maybe a bit of a tricky horse, and I think it's just a case of, because it's a grey horse handicap, it's running here. So I think it's one that I'm keeping an eye on, but I don't want to back tomorrow.
Representing powerful connections for this kind of race, though.
Yeah.
Regarding the grey horse handicap.
Yeah. But I think it is that kind of race where you go, oh, we're grey, we can run in it. Especially with George Buckle taking off 5, I don't think that's needed. So I think I would look elsewhere with him. I haven't really got a strong fancy, to be honest. I think Crew Cut will give you a good run for your money at 8, but I think Steve Prescott's probably your most likely winner.
Yeah, mostly agreed on Crew Cut being value. Then Steve Prescott would be a danger of taking to the ground tomorrow for the grey race at Newmarket. Off to Newbury though for the 2:35 now. The Betfred Geoffrey Freer Stakes, a Group 3 over 1 mile to 5 furlongs and an extra 61 yards on top of that. A few non-runners already coming out, including the Antipost favourite Gospel Choir. Havana Beat is also out as well, leaving Romsdal at the head of the market at 2-1. Palisator next at 9-2. Currently, Agent Murphy, third favourite at 5-1. This is a competitive little race, Adam. Maybe one that would open a few more doors in the future, with Romsdal finishing a good 3rd in the King George last time out. Agent Murphy also having bigger sights set in the future.
Yeah, Romsdal is probably the one to beat here. I thought his running the King George was a really good effort behind Eagle Top and Postponed. But just as an aside, I want to go off topic. Why Postponed was getting so slated for winning the King George is absolutely beyond me. People wanting to prefer Clever Cookie as a Group 1 winner to Postponed. What? Sorry, it's a little rant. Postponed is a nice horse, and I think he is a Group 1 horse, but the Arc isn't a realistic target, and I think
Sorry, since we're going off on a tangent here, what price would Postponed be if you're running the Arlington Million this week tomorrow?
Well, he probably would have needed a break, but he'd probably be favourite if he was running.
Actually, he'd be odds on, sure.
Yeah, he'd have to be odds on in that race. I mean, Maverick Wave is favourite. He's much better than Maverick Wave.
Yeah,
yes, he's much better.
The problem is that Sheikh Mohammed Obey doesn't really want to go abroad with him, but I know that you two would love to see him at the Breeders' Cup Turf.
Oh, I'd love to see him.
The Hong Kong Vase is the race I think is ideal, and the Shima Classic.
There are a lot of races that are ideal for Postponed, but most of them, slash all of them, are abroad.
But it was great to see Postponed win his Group 1. Anyway, back onto the race. Romsdal's got a winning chance. The ground has come in his favour, and back up in trip, I think he's got a winning chance. Palisator, I'm actually surprised that they've come here, because they've got the Ebor again as an option next week, and his handicap markers allowed him again to get a run in the race. I'm surprised that they've come here. I know it's a small field, and he'll get slightly softer ground as well, but he has his chance as well. But Agent Murphy is a horse that I think we all like now. Callum's, I think, signed on to the...
Callum's warmed up to him.
That's good.
I've just never been a fan of the stayer, but
he's... Well, Callum, you didn't think would be a stayer, but me and Luke thought he'd get a mile and a half fine, and then Callum goes, I'll get a mile and 6. I think the trip tomorrow is absolutely perfect for him, because all he does is gallop. He'll probably be the first off the bridle, but he finds a plenty for pressure. The ground isn't really a concern for me. I think soft ground shouldn't really be an issue. I know it's by Cape Cross, but he shapes it so he'll go on any ground. And if he runs well tomorrow, there are potentially bigger prizes for him at the end of the year. I mean, I think he will go for the Irish St Ledger, but I've got a feeling that the Melbourne Cup is probably the number one aim for him. His rating may need to go up for that as well. So I think Romsdale's your likely winner. Agent Murphy will put in a good account, and I think he's a definite each-way price. For me, anyway, at 5, 6s, he's big as 7s as well. It's
still 7 to 1 best price, yeah.
7 to 1, that is, I think that's stonking each-way value, and he could win the race as well. That's the thing. Red Cadeau's here for a prep for the Melbourne Cup, and I know that we'll probably back different horses in the race, but I'd love nothing more than Red Cadeau to win the Melbourne Cup, because he's been the bridesmaid in it so many times. Such a tough, likeable, consistent horse, and has won so much prize money. He deserved to get his name on the trophy, but this is a prep run here, and I think he may run a similar race to last year, because he looked like he was going to win a furlong out. I mean, he just faded out of it in the closing stages, but he's getting on a bit now. I'd like to see him run well, come back safe and sound. Romsdale's your likely winner. Agent Murphy's an absolutely stonking each-way price. 7s with Paddy Power, a quarter the odds, 2 places. Fill your boots.
Yeah. The thing with Paddy Power as well, regarding Agent Murphy, is that they're doing money back if your horse finishes second.
Oh, perfect.
So you may as well go win.
Yeah, you may as well go win, get your money back and become second, because you're not going to get a great deal back on your each-way investment at 7 to 1. But I've backed him win personally. I think you've done the same, haven't you, as well, regarding Agent Murphy. Romsdale, I was really happy to see him come back to a bit of form last time when third in the King George. He was a horse that I really liked last year, third in the Derby. Went on to go fairly close in the, second in the St Ledger. At the start of the season, I was just beginning to get the thought that he was maybe falling a bit out of love with racing, but he ran really creditably when not really expected to in the King George. The ground's come right for him. He should stay and probably be fairly prominent in the running. Palisator, a horse that I've struggled to warm to, for all that he is very, very consistent. He disappointed in his comeback behind Mizu this season, but came back to a good bit of form last time at Goodwood behind Big Orange in the Goodwood Cup. That was a decent enough race, but dropping back in trip, I'd be slightly worried about Palisator, to be honest. And that, again, would lead me back to Agent Murphy, who I put up as a horse to follow at the start of the season. He started off this year by winning the Buckhound Stakes, a listed race over 1.5 miles at Ascot. And on that occasion, I thought the trip was going to be absolutely perfect for him. He was the first one off the bridle turning for home, and I thought he was beaten. However, he's found a lot for pressure. This trip's going to be, I know you've got slight reservations about it, but for me, this trip's going to be absolutely perfect for him. I can see him in eventually developing into a 2 mile type. Whether the Melbourne Cup will come too soon for him this year, whether he's the right type for the Melbourne Cup as well, and that remains to be seen. But for now, for tomorrow's purposes, I think the trip's going to be perfect for him. The ground, I've never really thought that he wouldn't go on soft ground. So at 7 to 1, I think Agent Murphy is a really, really good bit of value here. And what looks to be a weak enough race where plenty of the protagonists have their flaws, and the likes of Romsdale, who does need to confirm that he's going to back up a good run after a good run, because he hasn't been in the best form so far this season. Palisator's got plenty of question marks about him. Arad not really confirmed on the ground. And at 7 to 1, I'd give Agent Murphy a go. You're pretty much the same in that account,
yeah, I think it's a cracking price. I do personally probably have more doubts about him seeing out the trip in the ground, mainly because I think he's going to be a proper stamina test. And I've never thought, to be honest, I never thought he'd get this sort of trip, but he does shape as if it would be absolutely fine. He just plugs on in his races. Like he outstayed them at Ascot in that listed race, probably outclassed them at the same time.
Yeah.
And his run at Chantilly was a really decent run behind 2 decent enough animals. Romsdale, he should be winning if he runs anywhere near to his King George run. He should be winning, but just don't trust him to do so. It's just that kind of horse when he gets the opportunity to win this sort of race, I can see him keep coming up short, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I completely
but
agree.
the ground should be ideal, and he stays well. Palisator, I think, is a dreadful price. Again, he's just I've never had him as a horse that can win a decent enough group race at this sort of trip. Arad is better on faster ground. he's got form on softish ground, but it's not very good for him. I mean, a second to Beacon Lady at beloved Epsom.
Yeah, he probably ran to about 114. It still would be that day.
But I mean, he was dreadful, albeit in the Champion Stakes. I'm heavy. I've got doubts about him on ground. And the rest, Winshire ran okay the other day, but no, Agent Murphy should outclass those. So I think he should be 7-2 in this field, which makes him a brilliant bet at 7-1. I think he's a great bit of value.
Yeah, I think we're all very much agreed on Agent Murphy at 7-1. Hopefully, we're right in that fact. But we're off to more handicap racing now over at Newmarket for the 250, the Betway Price Blitz Stakes over 6 furlongs, where Dawn's Daily Light's a horse that we've mentioned a few times already in this show, and one that may not run on the softer ground. Richard Kingscote has also deserted Dawn's Daily Light to go and ride Firefighting in a Group 3 over at Deauville. But still, nonetheless, Adam, Dawn's Daily Light does head the market, so it's right that we start about him. And he's a horse that's very much going in the right direction.
Yeah, just before we do, that's number 3 for Firefighting. I need 9 more runs by the November handicap to win this little thing and get 12 runs. Apparently it's the top rated in the race as well, so best luck to Firefighting in Deauville tomorrow. Dawn's Early Light. If I fancy Crew Cut in the Grey Horse handicap, then I must consider Dawn's Early Light here, who was a really impressive winner at Ascot last time out, and he's gone up £11 in the handicap for it. The only concern we have got is the ground. Even though he was third in a maiden on soft ground at Ripon, Tom Dascombe seems convinced that proper good ground is what he wants, and he has proven that in his last 2 runs. But I wouldn't just say this race is about him. I think this is a really strong handicap, because you've got the likes of Ice Lord, who was impressive in his maiden at Salisbury, and before that was 5th behind Interlac when not seeing out a mile, so they've come back sprinting with him. Rusey was a good second behind the very impressive Magical Memory, who's obviously gone on since to win the Stewards Cup and is a sprinter really on the up. Tarantum Star is another that you've got to give a consideration to. He won over course and distance last time out. I think it's a really good race. The selection, I'm going to side with Rusey, actually, who was second behind Magical Memory last time. And I think there's considerably improvement to come. I think he can improve on that handicap mark, and he'll probably be one of these standout horses in sprint handicaps for the future. So I'm going to side with Rusey. Is there anything a really big? No, nothing real big. Oh, Bronze Girl's in again. She turns out she doesn't want 7 furlongs. She wants 6 furlongs. She could run well as well. Jack Garrison claiming 3. Yeah, I thought I was convinced that Yorkshire wanted 7 furlongs, but it turns out that the horses that were in that race, the likes of Magical Memory and Twilight Sun, are just group horses in handicap. So, to be fair to her, I don't think she was disgraced on that occasion. She's a decent handicapper, but when you bump into group horses like that and it gives the wrong impression that they want further, then yeah, she's a 6 furlong horse and she could go well tomorrow. But I think Rusey is the one to beat.
Yeah, Rusey coming off the back of a good run behind Magical Memory, who went on, of course, to win the Stewards Cup at Glorious at Goodwood. Dawn's Early Light's a horse that both me and Callum have a lot of adoration for. He's very much improving at a rate of knots, winning first time at a handicap company at Pontefract, and then absolutely bolting up, beating Crew Cut into second at Ascot. He's gone up sufficiently in the weights for that. That was a mark of 84, is up to 95 tomorrow if he were to take his chance. Personally, I really don't think he'd run. And also, it's a bit of a worry that Hayley Turner rides, not in the sense that anything against Hayley Turner, more the fact that Richard Kingscote has gone abroad to ride in a Group 3, yes, but I get the feeling if they really did rate Dawn's Early Light, then he'd stick around to ride him instead of going to ride Firefighting in a Group 3 at Deauville.
Riding Exili, that's the main ride for him.
Yeah.
Who's a Dascombe horse, isn't it?
Yes.
Well,
I just think that might have a request of the owner or something like that.
You have to hope so, anyway.
Mentioning Firefighting was the right thing to do, though, because I was going to mention him later on, so we've got to mention that the way.
Lockout Island runs in Deauville tomorrow.
Yeah, it's decent racing at Deauville tomorrow, isn't it? And Lockout Island bidding to get his career back on track. But back to Newmarket for the time being. Beardwood, again, is a horse that we've had plenty of conversations about. Things have gone a bit skew with the Beardwood since beating Dawn's Early Light in a maiden. It's got a mark of 88, a run off that last time, and he really looks as if he needed 7 furlongs quite badly. Whether that was just that he was coming off the back of a problem, because he had about 3 months off. He also went to the sales and left the ring unsold at 18,000, was it? Yeah. Which
it's worrying.
Again is a bit of a worry, because it's a horse that's had 2 runs, has been second on debut, and then went and won quite nicely, albeit beating in a photo finish, but beating a horse that's since gone on to
10 grand
before.
not sold.
The 10,000 not sold. So that is a bit of a worry. It would just suggest that there's a problem there. He ran as if it looked as if he needed 7 furlongs last time. I just wonder whether it's a bit of an underlying problem with Beardwood going into tomorrow. So he's going to have to be one that you watch and you couldn't really back with any sort of confidence.
No, but the market doesn't suggest that, does it?
Well, he's been price-wise.
I couldn't have him at all tomorrow.
No, he has been price-wise as well, Beardwood. So that would be one thing to take in. Rusey, I completely respect Adam's selection on that magical memory form last time. Has to have a huge chance. The ground, I don't see really inconveniencing Rusey all that
soft
much.
It will.
I don't think it will be bottom, or I don't think it will be out and out soft.
Disappointed on soft the last 2 times he's faced it. The only 2 times he's faced it. He needs it fast.
Okay,
definitely.
Fair enough.
But saying that, I was looking at the times earlier for Newmarket, and they're actually really quick tonight. So, but there's more rain tonight and early in the morning. So, it's a guessing game.
Yeah, it literally is. And I can't stress enough, a day that you probably have to put your bets on about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and really find out what is going on with regards to the ground. One at a price that I'm still convinced is much better than the mark that she's got. She was starting the season off a mark of 98 after being quite impressive 2-year-old last year. Is Lacing for Richard Fahey. Shane Kelly takes the ride. She's 25 to 1. I think the ground's going to be absolutely fine for her. She's just disappointed the last few times. She needs to really get her career back on track. I'm not saying put a lot of money on her each way at 25 to 1, but for a couple of quid each way, if going back to her form, then Lacing could be the one to outrun her odds. Burnt Sugar as well as one that probably always going to mention.
So many to consider in this.
After the international, he was one that was on the wrong side, still making ground and had a lot of ground to make up as well, on softer ground as well. That's key to note. If there is more rain overnight, Burnt Sugar could be one to take into account off top weight as well, has to be said, and it has gone up a pound from that run in the international. It's really hard to pick a selection here. If Dawn's Early Light runs, I probably would side with him, but I'm not 100% sure Dawn's Early Light will, and I'm finding it very hard to put a selection up because this is a really, really competitive race. Rusey, I'd respect, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Primrose Valley was an eye-catcher last week at the Shergar Cup. I'd almost be tempted to side with Primrose Valley, who probably didn't get the best ride. Was it Emma Jane Wilson? Met a whole host of
absolutely shocking ride.
Was a whole host of trouble behind Moonraker. Had to switch out wide late on. Didn't get any run whatsoever. I'd give Primrose Valley a chance, but again, softer ground, is that going to be a bit of an inconvenience for Primrose Valley? Well, we don't know, but the fact that he's been tried so heavily, albeit he is from the Ed Thornyard, the fact that he's been tried so heavily on the all-weather surface, would that suggest that they think he's a faster ground horse? Possibly. This is such a hard race to get through. She. Damn it. I haven't got a pink highlighter to colour my iPhone in with. If Dawn's Early Light runs, I think he'd take a hell of a lot of beating at the head of the market. In each way selection, I'd put up Lacing just for a couple of quid each way, but it's more a watching race for me. This is a seriously good race, and more than likely going to be formed to really handle quite prominently in the future.
Seriously long analysis.
Yeah, I know. That's about the longest I've ever done. I apologise for that.
Hours later, no.
Wait, don't steal our jokes. Make your own humour.
No, I'm gonna use your own jokes against you.
That's because you're not clever enough to think of your own.
Shut up.
Callum.
Yes. There's 2 group horses in this. Dawn's Early Light and Ice Lord, who I was seriously impressed by Ice Lord at Salisbury last time, where Clive Cox said, the jockey actually, John Fahey, got interviewed and he said he's very good. He's right up there with the tops. He's not with the top one of ours. He's not a Cody Bear, but he's very good. And that's exactly what he said. So I think he could be top class and chucked in off this mark, which makes me worry about all the others. Which just look. There's so many to consider, though. I think there's so many more handicap horses in this. Like even Mutzagar, who was a good 2-year-old and really shaped well the other day at Goodwood. You know, I thought he had a handicap in him, but I just don't see him being that well handicapped enough to win this. Tarantum Star won a good race last time over course and distance. He's gone up 7. That might be enough to prevent him following up in what's clearly a better race, but he's another to consider. Beerwood I don't like, but Rusey, if the ground's fast, he's got clear claims. Mythmaker's bidding for a hat-trick in a much stronger race, but he's been winning with a bit in hand in lesser company. Primrose Valley's got scope off this mark still, I think. Been unlucky both times on turf the last twice.
Good jockey booking as well, Primrose Valley. We didn't mention Tom Marquand taking £5 off.
Yeah,
that could be quite a big thing in this kind of race as well.
Garliv was a horse I liked.
Garliv.
Bumped into a nice horse of Fahey's at Wolverhampton. Burnt Sugar. The list goes on of horses I like in this race. I really rate Dawn's Only Light. I think it's a serious horse. So I think it's the most likely win if it runs. I don't know at this stage, to be honest. All I can say is I think Dawn's Only Light and Ice Lord are group horses in handicap.
Yeah, it's a very, very good race, I think.
And that's stupid. They're both the favourites, but honestly, they really are.
Yeah, they're both horses that are definitely going the right way in their careers at this point. Anyway, moving on to the next race, though, we spent plenty of time on that in a very competitive handicap at Newmarket. Back to Newbury, though, for the 310. The Betfred Supports Jack Berry House Ladies' Day handicap over 7 furlongs. Again, Adam, another very, very competitive race here with Mujazem heading the market. A horse that finally got his career back on track last time out and heads the market at 4-1.
Yeah, he got it back last time out after a really disappointing run behind You Do, Don't You at York. And I think he does deserve to be favourite, and he's probably got more to come. But I prefer Withensea, who has been waiting for soft ground and finally gets it tomorrow. He won at Doncaster on soft ground last season, and he hasn't been running badly lately, and he has been supported in the market. He's fifth behind Salatine. He just looked on that occasion to want a softer surface, and only beaten 4.5 lengths at the time before by Gelato is fair form as well. So I think tomorrow will be the day for him. There are others in the race to consider. I'll give Sir Robert Cheval a mention. I'm sure you're going to give him a mention tomorrow. Hopefully the ground will be fine for him tomorrow, considering it was fine for him at Ascot a couple of weeks ago and he got pulled out. So I'm a bit confused by that. Pastoral player. Oh, he finally won last time out, and somebody backed him, and yeah, he mentions him every time he runs, and I thought he'd never win a race again, and he's finally won a race again. Hey, you never know, might give him the confidence to actually go and win races again. But I still have that question mark over him. I think Mujazam is a worthy favourite, but I'd rather side with Withensea. He's finally got his conditions, and I think he will prove to be the one to beat tomorrow.
It's, again, another really, really competitive race here on Channel 4 at Newbury, with handicaps coming thick and fast in the afternoon. There are two that I like in it, and Adam has mentioned both of those and mentioned my name along with both of them. So thank you very much for that, Mr. Webb. The first one to mention will be Pastoral Player, who I always mention when he runs, and he always seems to run a big race. But finally, last time, he got his head in front under a really good ride from Charlie Bennett. He didn't get the clearest of runs whatsoever, but he kept a cool head and got him through just on top of the line. The softer ground won't inconvenience him whatsoever. He goes much, much better on softer ground, and he's only up £5 for winning a very competitive handicap at Glorious Goodwood. That should hold him in good stead here. I think 10-1 is a pretty decent price for each way terms, and as Adam mentioned, if winning does give him the confidence he needs to go on, then we could have a seriously well-handicapped horse on our hands. He was running in Group 2s and Group 3s at his prime, albeit he is an 8-year-old now. But it would be interesting to see how he does fare after winning at Glorious Goodwood. And the other one is Sir Robert Cheval, who left me thoroughly confused after being a non-runner in the International. Looking back at it, I don't think he would have won that race. I think it would have gone well. But he is a horse that does need ground on the softer side. But the quote that came from Marco Botti was that the ground was unsafe for him and he didn't want to run him on that. However, he then ran a good ground at Newmarket last time out, which confused me slightly. But again, he's just got going a bit too late in the day on the Mark Monaghan. A good jockey booking, though, with Sylvester de Souza. He's 12-1 currently, Sir Robert Cheval. I wouldn't put anyone off backing him each way. He's probably more one for the place angle than for win purposes. For the win purposes, I would side with Pastoral Player. But those two would be the ones that I'd take. And just keep an eye on Mullionaire as well. He's been in fantastic form this season. He's had a short break of 36 days for the John Best Yard after finishing 4th in the Bunbury Cup last time out, or on Bunbury Cup Day. It was by Magical Memory, sorry, at Newmarket last time out. But before that, had been in really good form, beating Acolyte a couple of times. He's gone on to boost that form. So it'll be interesting to see how Millionaire does get on. But Pastoral Player and Sir Robert Cheval at prices for myself and for you in this very competitive handicap.
I was really impressed by Roger Sam at Salisbury. The race did kind of fall apart around him. He made all. But I can't remember who, it was one of the jockeys being interviewed. And he said we went a good gallop in that race and he just went further and further clear. If kept sound, because he's had his problems. He went wrong at York. He was gelded after that. He looked right back on track last time. He's gone up a stone. And like I said, I don't think it was the best of races, but he has the potential to be way ahead of that mark still, of 94, and the rest of them are just pretty, exposed handicappers, aren't they? Say, I mean,
yeah.
Willensee, I totally get, because I thought he shaped really nicely behind Salatine the other day. He's a hold-up performer that needs plenty to fall right, but he's shaped nicely. Probably on 3 of his 4 starts this year, he shapes better than the result. So one day it will click, and he's got conditions to do so tomorrow, but he does need a bit of luck. And Mujasam, I think, from the front will take a hell of a lot of catching. Again, it's the market leaders, but Mujasam, I think, should be clear favourite, to be honest. He has far and away more potential. And any price where he isn't favourite, I think is value, to be honest. I think he should be a 5-2 shot in this field. So I think 4-1, if there's only 9-2 about, I'd be really tempted to take. But look, some decent enough horses. A lot of hold-up horses in it, I've noticed, but there's a few that want to make the running as well. So it could be quite an interesting tactical race.
Firm Decisions is probably the one that's going to absolutely bomb.
Yeah, Millionaire as well.
Yeah.
Exchequer's a horse I like, but I've got him in my mind for the all-weather. And Mysterioso hasn't really gone off from what I thought he would do. They're pretty run-of-the-mill horses, bar Mujasam, probably Withensee.
Yeah.
And Millionaire, maybe.
Nonetheless, it is a competitive race. At that, another competitive race as well. The handicap's coming thick and fast here this week on the Other Hoof and on Channel 4. The William Hill Great St Wilfrid Stakes, over 6 furlongs at Ripon. A very, very competitive race here, Adam, with 20 going to post for this season's renewal. We have a couple of non-runners that we should mention. Grebe, a non-runner. Fast Track, also a non-runner. And Hawkeye the New leaves us with just 17, unfortunately. I'm not quite sure why Hawkeye the New is a non-runner, as he seems to handle softer ground. But with that aside, it is still a very competitive Great St Wilfrid this year.
Yeah, Hawkeye the New was actually one I quite liked, with Hector Crouch back on board claiming 7. I thought he had a really big chance tomorrow, but there must be I wouldn't say the ground's going to be a reason why he's a non-runner, because he's gone on really soft ground in the past before, so there must be other reasons there. Spinnatrix has been really well back. She was 16-1 earlier in the week, and she's now 6-1 joint favourite with Don't Touch. And I think tomorrow, I'd love to see Spinnatrix win this tomorrow, and I think tomorrow could be the day. She's back on a mark where she can win off. She won a handicap off a £7 higher mark at York in October, and she was really impressive on that occasion. And I think she is potentially the one to beat tomorrow. What are you laughing at?
Sorry, we've just gone onto the BHA website, and Hawkeye the New is a non-runner officially because of the ground.
Oh, fair enough then. Right.
I'm just saying, I'd be keeping a serious eye on where Hawkeye the New goes next.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah, I think. Oh, I want to rant now, but I can't. I think that's another video where you see horses. I'll make the point. You see horses withdrawn because of the ground, yet they've got winning form on it.
Well, we had one last week actually. The winner of the first at the Shelgar Cup, Secret in the Park. He was a non-runner the night before on good to firm ground because it wasn't right for him. He won at the Shelgar Cup on good to firm ground.
My favourite one recently, going off topic, was Mick Easterby about Etna, where he said that the ground was too soft for her in the Duke of York Stakes when it was good to soft. Yet she's got winning form on soft and heavy ground, and her best performances have come on that ground. So it doesn't add up.
At bottomless pit at Doncaster in November, didn't she?
And the ground was too soft for her when she didn't run a race. I thought the ground was too quick for her on that occasion. But hey ho, oh well, I think Spinnatrix, the rain has come for her, and if there's a horse that deserves to win this race, it's her. And I think she's got a real winning chance, and her handicap marker's come down. Don't Touch is a horse I do like. The slight concern I do have, I think he is a good horse, it's just the hustle and bustle of this big field handicap could come too early in his career. No denying, I think he is a smart horse, but I think a lack of experience could do for him tomorrow. I do like Sure Step. I seem to mention him every time he runs now, and he hasn't done badly the last 2 times. Second behind Tanzil at York, and then fourth in the consolation race, the Stewards Cup consolation race last time out. And I think he's another one that could go well again. Barnet Fair, the plan was to win last time out, but the problem for him tomorrow, the ground's gone against him completely. If it was decent ground, I thought he would have had a big chance. Mass Rally is Mass Rally, and he'll probably weave his way through horses, look unlucky in the run, and everybody will think, he's another eye catcher when he's not. I can't really suggest one at a bigger price apart from Short Step each way. So I'm going to go with Spinatrix, and I hope she can win this race. She deserves to win this race after so many decent efforts in it down the years.
I thought Spinatrix was very interesting. She was available about 16-1 last week. She's now 7-1 best price. I thought she ran a hell of a lot better than her finishing position suggested last time at York behind New Providence and Lucky Cristal and the likes. That was a much stronger race than she's going to contest here, albeit it is back in handicap company. But off a mark of 102, I wouldn't have her out of it at all, and especially at Ripon on softer ground, you couldn't discount her lightly at all. Don't Touch is a horse that's done absolutely nothing wrong whatsoever. This is going to be a completely different kettle of fish from anything that he's seen before. Whether I want to say inexperienced, but it's the wrong word to use. He's been seen the race course 3 times, but against some seasoned handicappers, this might just be a bit too soon for him in his career. Eccleston, another one you alluded to the point earlier on, he might just be drawn on the wrong side. He's drawn 2, so he's very much on.
There's a lot of pace on the near side.
Yeah, but he's a horse that does go on softer ground. Dave O'Mara.
He was my idea of the winner.
Yeah,
if he was drawn the other side, I would definitely back him.
Yeah,
that's my only worry.
Just on a side note, how important would you say the draw is for this season?
For this race?
For this renewal this year.
I think it is pretty important because I was just looking at the race, and apart from Paul Vinny drawing in 1, you've got Sure Step, Gran Canaria Queen, Muckmal, Piper's Note, Spinatrix, all like to make the running, even Kimberella, and they're drawn 13, 18, 12, 19, and 11. So you'd fully expect to want to be on that side.
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah. It is a really tricky race to try and get through with the pace angle. Anyway, one at a price that severe worries about the ground, but if handling it, Al Khan was a real eye catcher last time behind Tanzil at York. That was over 6 furlongs. Likely, or in all likelihood, would want a little bit further, but it could just be that this softer ground would slow the others down tomorrow. But doesn't matter if Al Khan doesn't handle the ground. He has run okay on softer surface in the past, and Gary Halpin's an interesting jockey booking to take £5 off.
Do you rate him?
Gary Halpin? I think he's a decent jockey. Why?
I just wondered. I backed him on a horse the other day, and right on it, but
no, I think he's okay. I think there are. That's very well worded. I don't mind him. I think Gary Halpin's a decent £5 claimer. I think there are better around, but there are some very good £5 claimers around at the moment.
Al Khan, the first ever horse to improve out of David O'Meara.
Yeah. He's done all right for Kevin Ryan so far in his one run when he was a real eye catcher behind Tanzil. He came flying late on in the day. He could be one for place purposes. Down lower down at the bottom. There's not much that you could get excited about at bigger prices. I think Spinatrix would be the one to beat once more here in the Great St Wilfrid's. I would side with Al Khan each way. Mass Rally will be an interesting one to watch in running, but Al Khan the each way selection for me. Spinatrix, my idea of the winner of the Great St Wilfrid's 2015. You liked Eccleston, didn't you? Yeah.
I liked Eccleston. There's 2 more I prefer over him.
Okay.
Because of the not because of the draw. Don't Touch is the best horse in this race, or best handicap horse, I think. Won his first 3. He's got a brilliant attitude. I think he'll relish 6 furlongs on soft ground because I think he'll get at least 7. Thought the race he won at Wolves last time was pretty strong, to be honest. And he did really well to win it. I can't remember what I noted, but I do remember he did really well. He did really well to win it. Spinatrix is off the same mark when second in the race last year. Loves Ripon. She hasn't been in much form at all this season, to be honest. I know it's been listed
I
races
do
or
think
so, but I just think she's been struggling recently.
I do think she ran a race much better than her finishing position suggested last time. It could just be that they were getting her ready for another crack at the Greats in Wilfred.
Possibly, because she had gone right up the handicap after that win late in the season last year, and so. But I can leave her personally there's a lot of pace on, and she just hasn't. I mean, she looked better than ever when she won on her return. So I just don't think she's been in much form, to be honest. But she, the softer ground will help her as well. She hasn't been listed in the market at all now, has she? I wouldn't back her at that price.
No, fair enough.
Paul Vinny, I think, is on the wrong side. I don't think that Hamilton form, is any good, to be honest. I think he was wholly flattered by it. But it's an Appleby horse, and you never know. He's just like Omari. He can get them to improve when you think they're done. Sure Step, Muckmal will make the running. Muckmal, I think, ran well the other day on softer ground, actually, but I think wants really fast ground, ideally. Sure Step should go okay on the ground, you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't have any problems.
And has been running really well in decent races. Tatlisu looks out of form to me. I know he ran the second penultimate start, but he's not travelling in his races. I think Maserali could potentially... This could be the day. He's got the right setup. He's got a strong pace to aim at, and he's got soft ground, which is what he needs.
Said it for the Dancing meeting at York, and it didn't go right. Oh, everything's got to go right for him, and he's going to be produced perfectly. I just can't.
It did. I mean, he's shown it apart from the Hamilton run, but he was on the wrong side.
He's a very, very capable horse in his day.
He's run some decent races.
It's just whether it all goes together for him.
Yeah, but he's off. He's not been this low in the weights for quite a while. 2012 he's not been this low since then. So he's 8, but he's definitely capable, and he'll get the right setup. He was a decent enough runner behind Flyman in the race Eccleston ran in, actually, where they didn't go any gallop at all. This is more his bag. I'm going to have a few quid on him at 60 to 1 tomorrow. So it's just like a case of, he's a mercurial horse, but he isn't at the same time, because when he gets his conditions, he often runs his race.
He is a very, very useful horse on his day, but that day doesn't come around all too often.
Well, it doesn't. But, when he gets soft ground and 6 furlongs with a good pace to aim at, name me a time when he's not run a good race.
When he was last of 9 at Doncaster.
Didn't get the pace to run.
Sorry, I'm just being asked. Mass Rally for you then, win purposes?
I think Don't Touch is the best horse in the race.
Don't Touch. Fair enough. The last race that we're going to be covering, though, is the 3:45 from Newbury. But before that, if you haven't got any questions or fancies for tomorrow, plenty of you have got them in for tomorrow's racing. We're also going to be covering Arlington very quickly at the end of this video. So if you've got any fancies for the American racing, including the Arlington Million, tomorrow evening, then do get in touch and tell us what you fancy. We'll be reading those out at the end of the show. You can tweet us at On The Other Hoof, as always. We'll read them out very shortly. But the last race to cover is the feature race of the day, 3:45 at Newbury, the Betfred Hungerford Stakes, a Group 2 over 7 furlongs. We have got a few non-runners here as well on account of the softer ground. Safety Check, a non-runner. Home of the Brave, also a non-runner. Limata, unsurprisingly, a non-runner, as is Richard Pankhurst, who we now haven't seen for quite some time, 420 days, and the wait goes on with Richard Pankhurst. But Adam, this looks like it could be an ideal opportunity for Here Comes When, who's finally got everything in his favour.
Just a note on Richard Pankhurst. Good to see him finally entered in a race. As in, he was in the 48-hour stage. It's a horse. I'm just slightly off topic on Richard Pankhurst. I don't know what to make of him. When he actually does come back, I don't know what to make of him, because he won the Chesham, and the Chesham's not normally a race that I particularly rate. So it'd be interesting to see how he does go. Other non-runners as well. I thought Home of the Brave, had the ground been decent, I thought he would have been the clear one to beat here, even with Lamata in the race. He was so impressive last time at the Curragh. The top 3, though, Here Comes When has got his conditions, but I think Breton Rock has also got his conditions. He won this 12 months ago. And likewise, Cable Bay. And all 3 of them, I think, are genuine Group 2 horses. And I don't think there will be very much between them. That's the honest truth. And of them, I think at the prices, I'd be slightly preferring Cable Bay and Breton Rock. Because although Here Comes When is a clear favourite here, I don't think there is that much between them. And at the prices, I'm going to side with Cable Bay at 11-2 because his win at Haydock when he beat Ascription was a good win, and he ran well last time out. So I think of the three, I'd rather be with him. This is just a price thing. I think any one of the three could win, and I think it'd be Cable Bay for me. Just looking down the rest of them, it's interesting that they're going up in trip with a day, but I have got concerns about him on the ground. Heaven's Guest.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, sorry, carry on. We'll get to that.
I just think the ground will be too soft for him. I think good to soft to be fine, but I think soft ground I have a slight worry about a day. Heaven's Guest, bless him, he finally won a big handicap last time out. Good on him, but I think Group 2 company is too much for him, and I think he will be aimed again at another 7 furlong handicap at Ascot or Newmarket. So he's a good money spinner. He is seen picking up prize money here, but I'm not sure. Marquez, last time out, I said didn't want 7 furlongs, and lo and behold, he went and won over 7 furlongs last time out. And the softer ground will definitely suit him, being a full brother to Mecca's Angel. So he could go well at a bigger price, but of those at the top of the market, all three of them have got conditions that they've gone on in the past. And I think Cable Bay at the prices is the one to be with.
Cable Bay is a horse that I like. We'll address a day. We were talking earlier. We both think that this kind of ground is what he might want.
It's a tough one. I think he's just versatile regards ground. It's just when he won at Haydock, it was the softest ground he's encountered, and it's at the moment his best performance of his career.
Yeah, he was very impressive.
I thought he took to it really well. It's just whether the mixture of stepping up to 7 furlongs and the ground will find him out. But I really wouldn't be surprised if he ran a big race tomorrow.
I've always seen him as a horse that I've been looking forward to him more stepping up in trip than staying at 6 furlongs. Personally, I think he's a big unit of a horse, and to say
stay, wouldn't you?
Yeah, to say he doesn't have a turn of foot would be harsh, but he's more of a grinder instead of him having that emphatic punch right there. I mean, he went off favourite for Coventry. He's a very good horse. He was a very good 2-year-old as well. He's confirmed this year that he's still got that ability. I think over 7 furlongs, he'd be a horse to seriously take into account here at 11-1. So
I'd agree.
A day for me and Callum, we don't think there's too many problems. Adam, not so much on that front, but we'll start with Here Comes When for myself. He's a horse that I've got a lot of time for. However, he's got everything in his favour. The one thing that might beat him is himself. He does tend to ruin his races quite a bit by being too keen and doing everything wrong, really. He ran that's so harsh. He ran well behind Solo the last twice, definitely out of his depth, but returning back here into Group 2 company against much weaker individuals, you'd expect Here Comes When to not be too far away, especially back over 7 furlongs. I was disappointed at home with the Bravers not running. Obviously, you can understand on the counts of the ground. He was so impressive last time at the Curragh. The one that I thought demanded a lot of respect at the prices is Heaven's Guest at 12-1, who I was surprised to see Adam dismiss of Heaven's Guest. But
I think he's a Group 2 horse. Listed Group 3, yes, but against proven Group 2 performers, I'm not so sure.
Is this really that strong a race anymore?
I think it is.
Such a good race. It was bloody rain.
It was a really, really good race.
Genuinely gutted. How many races we've had ruined this season by rain?
Exactly. Well, you take out Home of the Brave, you take out Safety Check, and then you've got Here Comes When ahead of Threat and Rock. That's not a vintage Group 2, I'm afraid. It's still a good race. It's still a very good race, don't get me wrong. But Heaven's Guest at 12-1 best price, 11-1 best price, 11-1.
I was one bookie.
2 if you include 10bet, who've got him priced up for this race, probably for the Champion Hurdle as well. Heaven's Guest, I was so impressed with him last time out in the International. He travelled into the race in the manner of a very, very good horse. I mean, I know he's very exposed now at the age of 5, but he travelled so strongly into the race, and I don't think Jack Garrity really wanted to be in front that soon. He was stopping very late on in the day, but he won the race with a really good turn of foot. He went clear, and he was getting tired, maybe a bit lonely out in front as well, and was being caught by Balti boys. But back into this grade, I think if they can hold on to him for a bit longer, he's the really each way value of the race at 11-1. I think he could be one to give you a run for your money at bigger prices. Cable Bay I've got a lot of time for. On whether he'd want the grounds, Actually, softer ground's okay for Cable Bay. There's just a few slight reservations I've got about him tomorrow. George Baker, however, is a good jockey booking for him. He'll be played later on in the day. This, again, not really a race that I'd be delving too much into betting-wise. I would side with Heaven's Guest, however. David Nolan taking the ride for Richard Fahey off the back of his fantastic run in the International last time out. Is this a betting race for you? Or
I think so. I was going to back Here Comes When earlier in the week, but the price is gone for me because I do have doubts about him pulling his chances away. But, you know, he won that Group 2 last year, the Challenge Stakes, where he beat Cable Bay. I think Breton Rock was in there as well. I think he was 4th or 5th. 3rd, actually. So you got the 1, 2, 3 in that race. And on that basis, they're pretty much priced up correctly, aren't they? 7-2, 7-1, 7-1. Win Fast, I never really liked him. I think he needs it faster, ideally. A Day, I think, is really interesting. I'm really fascinated to see how A Day gets on. You know, he may pull quite hard. Heaven's Guest, I think, is overpriced. Well, you know, you take that 11-1. I think 8-1 is about right for him.
Yeah.
It's not a betting race for me. I think Here Comes When is the best horse in the race. I think he's priced accordingly.
Yeah, it's just whether he allows himself to be. Yeah, it's just whether he allows himself to be that. That's the final race that we're going to be covering in England. Anyway, we're going to be very quickly covering the Arlington card very briefly. Jermaine, the Goat Chaser, has called us favourite backers. Is that fair?
No.
We have tipped up a few favourites.
Just a few favourites.
We are coming off the back of tipping Heaven's Guest. I'll give us that credit. I tipped Lacing at 25. That's not exactly a favourite.
No, Mass Rally.
Mass Rally, not a favourite.
Yeah, but we're being tweeted by a goat. It's not exactly a person, is it?
To be fair, I've been guilty of tipping up a few fabs, but at the end of the day, a favourite can still be good value. No, not winner is a winner. No.
That's bullshit.
A favourite can still be value if you think it's a bigger price than what it should be. Like, if I look at, I don't know, well, I'll take Mujizam. I think that could be a very good horse. I think Force One could be a good value bet.
Well, so coming back to, I think it was Phil Dinsdale. I apologise if it wasn't. But myself and Adam were tipping up Red Baron at Musselburgh. We said this could be a group horse and a handicap.
Yeah,
and he duly obliged. So yeah, I agree on that front. But if they win, we don't mind all that much. Very quickly, the American St. Ledger. I think we're all agreed with Panama Hat at Arlington.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked at it, but
yeah,
is he favourite?
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, of course.
Pizza Man was favourite when I last looked.
Okay, I think Panama Hat.
He does look a really good.
He'd be
bet.
one of us.
I think he's probably my best bet at the card.
He'd be he's one of our stronger chances anyway. We have got, well, including Aidan O'Brien's stream, we have got a few from our side of the pond that should have very good chances.
Ladbrokes price up at this time.
And that way, good. Moving on very quickly, we're just rushing through the Arlington card. I'm afraid because we have dragged this on a little bit. Pardon me, rude. The Secretariat Stakes again. I think this is another one that could come to our side. I've warmed to Highland Reel the last time. He is hot and cold. He has got a tendency to throw in a bad race and follow it up with a very good one. So whether he can confirm the promise at Goodwood in what looked to be a better race than he's going to be running in the Secretariat tomorrow, I think Highland Reel will take all the beating with Shamie Heffernan on board. Adam?
He should. That's the thing I'll say. He's got the best form in the race, so...
I'd be disappointed if Highland Reel wasn't winning that.
Talking of Highland Reel, he was second. Talking of Highland Reel as well, he was second in the French Derby behind Newbury. Newbury has his first run since that against Ampere at Deauville. I think Newbury will beat Ampere. So,
cheers, bud. The Beverly D. Where I napped Euro Charlene in this last year. Napped a winner.
Yeah, well done.
Euro Charlene is back. I don't fancy her this year, to be honest. Ryan Moore gave her a belting ride. Jose Lezcano gives her the American jockey, or gives her American jockeyitis for tomorrow. Wedding Vow. I'm really not playing up. We've just said that we're not favourite backers. Wedding Vow ran a huge race at Glorious Goodwood behind Legatissimo. I read that so wrong.
Lots of Lex.
Yeah, I read it as Ness. I think it's between Wedding Vow and Stephanie's Kitten, who was unlucky in this race last year, got given way too much to do, but she's a horse that I like quite a bit, and a good jockey booking with Irad Ortiz Jr., who will be riding Acapulco in the Nunthorpe next week. I decided with Wedding Vow coming off the back of that fantastic effort behind Legatissimo at Glorious Goodwood. You've been a long-term Wedding Vow fan, haven't you?
I have been. Yeah, I'll probably back it tomorrow. But I think that'll be a sentimental bet than anything, to be honest.
Fair enough. Adam?
I'm not sure about Wedding Vow. I just think she's a bridesmaid. I know she finally won a race, but I just think she's a perennial bridesmaid, and I prefer Eurojali, even with American jockeyitis.
That's a bit harsh. Yeah.
It's so harsh.
If she was second in Group 3, maybe, yeah. But that's a bit harsh.
Yeah, but before she won her race, she did look like a perennial bridesmaid because she just couldn't get her head in front.
She's just
Remember,
inexperienced.
I still have a fond memory of the Lingfield Oaks trial where she should have. Well, she was meant to be far too good for them and then didn't win. So yeah, I'd rather be with your.
Ripon gave her a shocking ride that day, actually.
He did actually.
And I think that the step back in trip has actually really suited her. I think fast ground like this tomorrow as well.
Yeah,
will really help,
and a flat track as well. I think that's going to be one of the main things. I was surprised how well she won it, how well she ran. Sorry,
drugs,
Goodwood, and also Lasix as well. We believe she's got Lasix, isn't it? Yeah, she has got Lasix. Just confirm. Lasix for the first time should help her out. And then the Arlington Million, the big race at 11:48 tomorrow evening. Maverick Wave. Wow.
Jesus, I've just seen Colin O'Donoghue's doing a properly lightweight on that.
8.5. Wow.
Yeah, it's lowest in the last 12 months. It's 8.8, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That could be quite
apparently did 8.6 in on a horse in this race years ago, according to Ron Wood. The outstanding Ron Wood.
Cheers, Ron. The Arlington Million, though, Maverick Wave is your 9-2 favourite, depending what bookmaker you look at.
Filthy price.
I'm disappointed with the turnout from the Europeans, English, whatever horses this year. We've got Elaval and Belgian Bill, who are probably out of their depth. They've been drawn very, very poorly out in the car park. Maverick Wave is our best chance, which I don't think says a lot, to be honest. I don't think Maverick Wave should really be this class. However, is going back in the right direction.
That classy race, is it?
No, exactly. It's not that
Reminds
great.
you of Debussy.
It does a little bit. It
Does for me.
I'd side with the Americans, with Slumber, who was a bit unlucky last time out behind Big Blue Kitten. You'd imagine, before that he had beaten Big Blue Kitten, so on his best form, you'd hope that Slumber would be taking this. And once again, we have Irad Ortiz Jr. on board. So 5-1 Slumber seems a good enough price for me. Probably not a race that I'd be getting too heavily invested in. Adam.
It's a race I'm definitely not getting invested in. It's a horrible Group 1 in my opinion. Apart from the two Americans at the top, our horses, they're not Group 1 horses. Obviously, they've got them for the prize money, and I will commend them for doing so, but they wouldn't win a domestic Group 1 over here, so it's a
Slumber would
race.
Over. Love that horse over here.
I couldn't put up a selection in this race, being honest. It'll be something to watch tomorrow night, so yeah.
Slumber for you?
Yeah, let's all have a slumber pie.
Good.
And that's time to leave the show.
Right, questions. We're going to rattle through these very quickly. Kai Will's first one. Really like Here Comes When. Tomorrow's panel's thoughts. Also, the meaning for the horse's name. Very dirty, Kai. We're not going to entertain that thought. You're better than that. Well, I think we all agreed that if anything is going to beat him, it'll be himself. He's probably the best horse in the race, as you mentioned, priced accordingly. But he does need to settle tomorrow. He has got everything in his favour. Kijay has tweeted in saying, is there any explanation for Rousey's reappearance, and does that take away from his outstanding form claims? Not really.
No, I think...
Maybe if he put in a poor run last time and the runs were the other way round, but behind Magical Memory last time out, I think he's coming off the back of a very, very good run.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he was a big price that day, so... And he came back to...
Is he not meant to have run somewhere before? No.
Was he? He was in it. Was he in it Goodwood?
I'm sure he was in it Goodwood.
Yeah. He may have been in it Goodwood. That's where I thought I saw
Why
it.
was he called out?
He probably needted the run at York as well, and that was a really good race at York. So that's probably
Yeah, it's
it.
working out well.
Yeah, I agree. On that front, Tony Deacon has a question for Callum. Callum's thoughts on the Mosse ride yesterday.
Oh, interesting.
This is on Cody Bear, we have to say as well, and not the maiden that he won at the start of the card.
Well, to be honest, what I did like about him is how well he settled in Mosse's wonderful
Super
hands.
soft, magical hands.
Yeah, with his white gloves. Especially like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it was. He did panic, didn't he? But at the end of the day, I mean, he's just done the same move of what the other jockeys have done, albeit more markedly. But he's just done it later on in the race.
And the horse is absolutely dotted up.
Yeah, the horse is just too good for him.
In fairness, if the horse would have stayed in the far side, he'd probably won anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, the horse was just so much better than his rivals in the Sovereign Stakes at Salisbury. Phil Dinsdale in next. I'm going to Newbury tomorrow, so the tips better be good, guys. # poor punter. Poor tipsters as well, Phil. So unlucky on that front. Good luck, though. Have a good day at Newbury. Remember to take a coat as well. The weather won't be great. I've heard Jeff Handley. I was at Ascot when Dawn's Early Light strolled home. 3 winners from the race since, up £11, grade 2 from 3. Obviously going up in grades. He's saying Yard hasn't had a winner in 29 runners. It's an interesting one.
What, Dascombe? That 2-year-old at Goodwood's probably the last one.
Yeah, catchy.
Yeah.
Interesting that. I hadn't noticed that they had sort of fallen out of form.
That's
Just checking.
Got a couple of run the right place.
Yeah, they're going okay, aren't they?
Quite a few placed.
They're going okay. They're just not getting their head in front. Which
was the last at Chester.
Wouldn't be something to get too worked up about, but it is something bearing in mind. Pigeon Island has tweeted us, the recently retired Pigeon Island, as well. I thought you'd want a selection for from a grey himself for the grey horses race. 28-1, Lackaday. Winner on heavy, not beaten for the last 3 runs. Good luck with Lackaday, Pidge.
Pidge would bolt up in this.
Pidge would win this so far.
Yeah.
Beating Grandeur into second. Phil Dinsdale saying, let them, on what we were talking about postponed earlier on, let the mugs knock postponed, the horse will shut them up. I imagine he will in the future as well.
Yeah,
but he has to go globe-trotting. He has to go globe-trotting.
I just thought it was incredibly harsh on a horse that has proven, he won the Great Voltigeur last year, was impressive. And the only, I'd say, disappointing run was in the Hardwick when we had the all-weather tactics from Adam Kirby.
We have another tweet as well from Jermaine, the GOAT, saying, we can start again because he's here now. No, is your answer to that. I don't think that's the last we're going to hear from Jermaine tonight as well, unfortunately, the troublemaker. Tony
Deakin just tweeted us, Rusey was a reserve last week at the Shergar Cup. That's where we saw
that's
him.
Where it was. Yeah, well done.
So cheers,
well remembered. Well remembered, Tony. Yeah. Jeff Handley, again, soft ground would be a concern at runs at Newmarket. This is regarding to Dawn's Early Light, I assume. Instead of Ripon. He won on the bridle last time at Ascot for Tom Dascombe. Regarding Dawn's Early Light, who may or may not be a runner on the softer ground. And also a Each Way Lucky 15, one of our favourite parts of the show now, from Phil Dinsdale. Is Each Way Lucky 15 for tomorrow. Mujahid in the 450 at Newbury. Mezaji in the 415 at Newbury. Don't get those two mixed up. Tupi in the Hungerford, the 345, the main race of the day. And do you mind? We're doing a professional show right here.
So I'm watching funny videos.
And Millionaire in the... What is Matt saying? Whoa! Sorry. And Millionaire in the 310 at Newbury. And then he's also sent in, and a saver, Desert of Life in the 2 o'clock at Newbury. Yeah. Agent Murphy, I think he's listening to us on these ones. In the 235 at Newbury. Breton Rock in the 345 at Hungerford. And Tunnel Creek in the 415 at Newbury when Channel 4 goes off air. Tony Deakin has mentioned about Here Comes When, saying Here Comes When gave Cable Bay £6 and a beating last year. They meet off level tomorrow. How does he turn that around? He's Here Comes When, I think, is the best answer to that.
I think it was Cable Bay. The reason I probably prefer Cable Bay, last year Cable Bay took a few runs to get going, and he's now back at the level of form he showed as a 2-year-old. That's my reasoning for it. I know he gave him weight that occasion. It was just, I remember his first 2 runs last year, he really looked as though he has needed them. He looked really ring rusty, and now he's had a full season. he's gone through the season. I think they're pretty equal horses, and I just think at the prices, I prefer Cable Bay.
Yeah, it is a very intriguing race. Probably not the most top class race that we're ever going to see, but it is competitive nonetheless. Jermaine has come back in as we thought, saying, "Can you?" He's mentioned this horse so many times on this show.
Bix.
He's about a 48 rated handicapper, saying, "Can you answer this? Why does Alan Berry run Bix in Class 3 races?"
48.
He's about 48.
Bit lenient. It's like rate 30 odd, isn't it?
He says prize money, and then he goes, his next jump is from prize money to banter. So,
yeah, I think it's for banter.
To humiliate the poor horse, he was running off 39 the other day in a Class 3.
Against Hawkesbury. But then again,
Can he not get into handicaps?
Well, did he not get what prize money did he get for that?
Probably not.
Exactly. He's got better chance of winning prize money in that than anything. 600 quid.
600 quid for finishing 4th and just having a run about behind Hawkesbury. I'd say
he
that.
won 600 quid for running in a cellar there.
Behind Stan. Oh, is that horse behind Stan Guard?
1 to 80.
It is a good point. It is a good point. It's something that the BHA should look into. But I think, well, yeah. Did you not watch that race? Tom Quealy was taking the mick. But it is a good point regarding Bix. But he is just there for prize money aspects. He can kill take 2 on a lesser level. Scott Vidler has got in touch as well, saying Lexi's Hero, massive value in the 3:30 at Ripon tomorrow. Thoughts? We haven't mentioned Lexi's Hero, have we? In the 3:30 at Ripon. Any thoughts, Adam, at all? Or?
Well, if you ignore the last run, he's been in fairly decent form of late. So, I wouldn't disagree. So, the ground shouldn't really be a concern. So, yeah, I wouldn't put you off. It's just not one that I'd consider. So, yeah, that's the problem in these big field handicaps. You can get an angle on most horses, but it's the one that you feel most comfortable going with. That's the thing.
I'd have the ground down as a bit of a worry, possibly for Lexi's Hero. Every time he's encountered softer ground, it's struggled just a little bit.
Yeah,
so that would be a slight worry.
There's one at Chester came on soft.
Was it? He's disappointed a lot of times on soft though. So it's interesting. Yes, he has. No. He has. I've just looked. I've just looked. I
don't think he's got much in hand.
And this is a tough race as well. Take that into account.
Where's he drawn?
I don't know. I've clicked off it now. Same. I got upset. Scott Villa then goes on to say Andrew Balding's Heartless is his nap for tomorrow, wherever Heartless is running. Good luck with that. And one final question in from Phil Dinsdale saying, put your mortgage on Highland Real because he's obviously the most trustworthy horse in the world. He never throws in a bad run. That is all the questions. Thank you guys for getting in touch. It has gone on for a little bit longer this evening. Our apologies for that, but we have got some fantastic racing tomorrow in the UK and also over in America at Arlington. Adam, your nap for tomorrow to make it 2 from 2.
Nap tomorrow to make it 2 from 2. I am going to side with Desert of Life just because I've got ground concerns over the other 2 and I think she's a decent price.
Right, Desert of Life for Adam in the Washington Singer Stakes. I'm going for the Jeffrey Freer and I'm going for Agent Murphy at 7 to 1. And Callum?
I'm going to go something a bit different because I'm just cover a different race really. Tiger Jim in 4:25 at Doncaster. Scrap its last run before then, won an air race. It's working out a treat. I think he'll get back on track.
Fair enough. It has been a long show this week. Apologies for that. We'll be back next week though to cover the Nunthorpe and the final day of the York Judgment meeting. Some fantastic racing next week. We hope you enjoy that. Have a good betting week and good luck if you're having a bet tomorrow. Enjoy the action from Arlington tomorrow evening. We'll all be fairly active on Twitter, I imagine. So get in touch with us on there. Thank you for tuning in this week. Until next week, goodbye.